Welcome to Around the Fence Post, where grit meets growth, stories spark change, and real conversations build stronger farms and futures.
Welcome back to Around the Fence Post. Today you've just got me talking about harvest stages and winter annuals and why they matter. When do we pull the trigger? So if you've got winter annuals in the ground right now, rye, triticale, wheat, ryegrass, you're watching them grow and wondering when to cut. Here's the thing most people get wrong. They think harvest timing is about yield. It's not. It's about what animal is eating it and what job that forage needs to do. Today I'm going to walk you through every stage, what the forage is worth nutritionally at that stage, and who it's for. No guessing, just the data. So we want to talk about what the big picture is, which is why the stage matters more than what species. So within a single species, maturity at harvest is the number one factor controlling our forage quality. More than the variety, more than the fertilizer, more than the soil type. As the plant moves from vegetative, reproductive to reproductive, protein drops, fiber climbs, and digestibility will fall off a cliff. But the yield is going to go up. So the producers are going to look at this trade-off between tonnage and feed value and look at when should we be cutting. So the question isn't when that should be, it's what animal am I feeding and what does that animal need. So if you're looking at this in the field, if you see it all vegetative, where it's out there tillering still, all leaf, no stem, the plant is tillering out, it's low to the ground, lush green. You're talking about a 20 to 25% protein, high NDF, TDN. You know, your relative feed value is going to be 150 plus. And if you're grazing cows, if you're grazing dairy cows or high performance stockers, creep grazing calves, that's what you want to feed that to. So you've got your high protein, high energy, lowest fiber. But your problem is you have almost nothing there. You're grazing it, you're not harvesting it. If you're running stockers or have fresh cows, you can flash graze it, let them graze it 6 to 8 inches and regrow it and take off another cutting. You've got options along those lines, but you're not going to get a massive cutting at that level of quality. Then we've got the next phase where stem elongation and jointing. So what it looks like, your plant's going to be standing up, you can feel the nodes on the stem and the leaves are still dominant, but the stems are getting thicker. You're going to see a 16 to 20% protein, your NDF is 45, 50, just nothing, and it's going to be for growing heifers, lactating beef cows, backgrounding cattle. Thought process there is you're still in good shape. Your protein is strong, fiber is manageable, and you're starting to get some tonnage. If you're making baleage for replacement heifers or fall calving cows, this is a sweet spot. You get a decent yield without sacrificing the feed value those animals need. Then you have the next stage, which is the flag leaf stage. They call it stage 9. I like what my research came up. They had a phrase called the money stage. I like that, right, guys? So what it looks like, the last leaf, the flag leaf has fully unrolled. The head is still inside the stem. You can feel it. It's going to be about 2 to 4 inches down. I had some text messages Easter Sunday from a friend whose trit is getting really, really close. And so you can pop them open with your thumb, the stem, or you can just feel it and you will feel the head down in the stem. Your protein is going to be in that 14 to 18% range, or if you have really hammered it with a fertility program, you could be looking at a much higher percentage of protein there. Your NDF be 50 to 55%, TDN 60 to 65, NDFD on the 30-hour 60 to 70 with a relative feed value of 100 to 130. So who do you feed that to? That's going to be your high-producing dairy cows, your performance stockers, or anyone feeding a high-forage diet. Keep in mind, beef cattle don't typically need this level of protein at any stage of gestation. Now, possibly right there at early lactation, if you were wanting to push them, based on some conversations I've had with nutritionists, 14% is taking really good care of some beef cows, especially if they have access to any type of pasture as well. Now, Tom Kilser's work has a big impact on the forage world when it comes to harvesting these winter annuals. So Tom's work with Alltech showed winter trid at flag leaf hitting NDFD 30 of 65 compared to alfalfa at 46. So we're talking about 9.5 more pounds of milk per ton of dry matter from the fiber digestibility alone. So we're talking about the milk business, and that's probably not most people that's listening. But for those of you that are, that also converts to beef. So there's going to be a lot of advantages on that side as well. But like I said, you can argue that beef cattle don't need that level, in which case you would be looking for a larger tonnage in your harvest program versus what you'd be doing here. So the flag leaf is the last major photosynthetic organ. It's pumping sugars and protein into the plant while fiber is still relatively digestible because lignin hasn't locked everything down yet. Kilser's argument that boot stage is a week too late for top dairy production. Flag leaf is the real target. The harvest window at flag leaf is 3 to 4 days when temperatures are normal. If the head is 4 inches down, you've got a few days. If it's 1.5 to 2 inches down, it's time to go. And if you're feeding high-producing dairy cows running a serious stocker operation, like this is probably where you want to be because it's worth the trade-off for the yield to get the benefits from the protein and the feed quality. Milk is made from digestible fiber, not piles of lignin. And this forage fed through midsummer eliminates the summer slump because your fiber digestibility is going to be so high. So you can basically continue with that digestibility. The cattle are not going to back up their eating during the summer if the feed quality stays at the same level of what they would be doing if they were on the spring pastures. You could see a major difference in what your average daily gain looks like through the hot months. So next one is boot stage, which is stage 10. The flag leaf sheath is swollen. You can see the head bulging inside. The head hasn't emerged yet. 12 to 15%. 12 to 15% protein in this ballpark. You know, your NDF, your TDNs are still going to be pushing around 60. Relative feed value of 90 to 110. So your growing heifers, beef cows, dry cows. So it's almost the middleman harvest. You're giving up the extreme protein quality, and you're giving up on the other side, you are also giving up the huge yield, but you've still got enough yield to make it worth doing. And depending on where you are in your planning to utilize this product or this silage or haylage or baleage, however you use it, you can simply line it up in your feeding system. Because if you're looking for your mid-gestation animals, hey, this is perfect. Let's just go with that because that's when you need to fill a gap in your feeding system. So boot stage has been a standard recommendation for years, and it's not wrong. It's where your yield and quality meet in the middle. But if you're feeding lactating dairy cows 90 pounds of it a day, you already missed your window. Boot is heifer feed and beef cow feed. Good feed, but not top shelf. For most beef producers, this is still the right call because you need the tonnage. Then you have the head emergence, so it's heading out. And you can see seed heads are visible from above the flag leaf. Another may or may not be showing. And your protein is going to be 8 to 12%. I mean, that's a wide, low window. Dry beef cows, maintenance diet, fiber source blended into a TMR. So once that head is out, quality is falling, protein is single digits, and in some cases, fiber is climbing. You can still use it, but you're supplementing it. So we go from utilizing forage being the backbone of our feeding system to, well, we're filling the cow up, and then we're having to supplement everything she's eating to get her in the right nutritional state. So it's not carrying a ration by itself. If you got behind on cutting, don't panic, but know what you've got and feed it accordingly. So that's just being aware. That's all I'm saying at this point. Be aware of where it's going to fall in. If you are pulling samples on your forages, you are ahead of the game in my part of the world. It gives you an idea of where it will fit. Obviously, you want to make sure that your fresh cows or your fresh cows are taken care of, where they're feeding calves or they're milking. You want to make sure that they're taking advantage, and I'm speaking more to beef guys in this instance, but where you tie this together with your entire program, you're not just feeding the cows just because that's the next row of hay in your run of bales. You simply are feeding. At that point, you're going to start feeding the bales based on the nutritional needs of your animal, based on stage of lactation, stage of gestation, and all of those factors that are so important when it comes to these decisions. And we have dough stage. So what it looks like: grain is forming, stems are stiff and fibrous, leaves are drying down, protein is just about gone, your NDF is just turning into mulch. So it's grinding hay. If you're here, you waited too long for forage. The grain has some energy, but the stems are basically wood. You're not feeding, lactating anything with it. It's a fiber source at best and a lesson learned at worst. Don't beat yourself up. Use it where you can and time it better next year. And there is that side of it. We can always take the lessons learned and move forward with them. Okay, so let's go back to matching these animals to it. So once again, we had the different stages. We had the growth stage where it's tillering, where it's really hot feed, you're grazing it, you got your lactating dairy, your stockers, you can creep feed if you have fall calved and you have a spring growth. Then you have your elongation stage, you're growing heifers and lactating beef. So this is if you've already harvested a little early. You're not going to get much in the way of energy out of the deal, but you're going to get a little bit of protein, and they're going to eat it because the sugars will still be decent. Flag leaf is going to be your dairy animals, your performance stockers, and your summer slump buster. So flag leaf is where you want to be. Remember, between 2 and 4 inches below that last flag leaf coming out, or the V9 stage, and then from there we go to boot, and then and you can salvage it a little bit with boot. You're going to be a lot pickier on what animals are eating it. And then you have soft dough, and then grain. So when you go to grain, at that point you've got straw with the head still on it, and it's grinding hay. So this is there's great materials online where you can go and find pictures of what you're looking for. I'm not I'm not techie enough where I can put all these up into this myself, but basically find the picture, print it out, stick it on the dashboard of your truck or in the dashboard of your mowing tractor. When you're checking your winter annuals, you'll know what you're looking for. If you've got questions, you can reach out through our Facebook, and if you wanted to look at it and wanted to get a second set of eyes, happy to do that. And just remember that what you're doing this spring is what you're feeding this winter when it comes to making these decisions. So one more thing I want you to take away is every day you wait past flag leaf, you're trading feed quality for tonnage. Sometimes that's the right trade. If you're feeding dry beef cows and you need volume, let it go to boot. But if you're feeding anything in production, dairy cows making milk, stockers you need gaining, heifers you're developing, get it cut at flag leaf and don't look back. The window is 3 to 4 days. Watch your fields. Feel that stem. When that head is 2 inches down inside the sheath, it's time to go. That's your trigger. So, sorry you guys just listen to me today. Hopefully this will help someone moving into cutting season. It's about that time on some of these earlier winter annuals. Follow the Wet Meadow Seeds page or around the fence post. I'm trying to continue to post educational stuff. If you want your best answers when it comes to harvesting winter annuals, find Tom Kilser and sign up for his newsletter. The man has done incredible work over the last 40, maybe 50 years at this point, getting into this at a really deep level, and has done more for making quality forages than I ever will. So I appreciate you guys for hanging out with me on Around the Fence Post once again, and I will see you next week.
As we wrap up today's episode, we hope something we shared helped you, challenged you, or gave you a new perspective. If even one moment stood out, please share this episode with someone who needs to hear it. That's how this community grows, one conversation at a time. You can find us as Around the Fence Post on Facebook and Wet Meadow Seed on Facebook and Instagram. We appreciate you being here. We'll see you next time, Around the Fence Post.